G'day, welcome to the video. I'm pretty excited about this one because I just got a parcel from the United States and in it were these very cool looking headlights, LED lights for the BMW S1000RR. First of all, why would I be thinking about replacing the headlights? Well, if you're anything like me, you live in a remote area, I have to ride a fair distance in the dark in the mornings when I go for a ride with my riding buddies, and the lights that come factory fitted to the bike just aren't adequate enough in dark areas. So city commuting, fine, but if you're travelling through areas where there's no street lighting and you're worried about animals and kangaroos and turkeys, which is the predominant problem here, then we need a better light than comes factory fitted. We even upgraded the bulbs in these with these real white light Philips globes bulbs, and they just weren't doing the job either. So we did some research, found a business called Matt Gecko LEDs located in the United States, and finally got our hands on a set of lights. So what we're going to do is we're going to install these, we're going to give them a run and see how much better they are than the factory lights. Now, a couple of things that you can observe about these. First of all, I'm told that the installation of these has no effect or no problems with the electronics on the bike. So that's going to be obviously the first criteria you want to meet. The second thing is I'm also told the lights that these put out is much better than the factory light. So that's going to be, you know, the prime function that we want to get out of it. But in addition to that, you've got this real cool aesthetics. So if you look at the edges of the light itself, there's an LED that runs around it. So the factory light has a little globe in it for parking lights. Well, this one has a light around the outside of the headlight. So I can't wait to see what these are installed and look like when we turn them on. So it should be pretty cool. So there you have it. The plan is to install these, give them a run, and see how they go. So there you have it, lights installed. You can see the parking light is the perimeter of each of the lenses. So once we turn the ignition on, then the parking light's going to come on. And there you go. And low beam side, high beam side. So once we start, the low beam will come on, and then I can flick on the high beam. Okay, we took the bike for a ride in dark conditions, got an opportunity to test these LED lights and see what they were capable of. I don't have a video, I apologise for that, because I recorded it and when I played it back, it just does not reproduce what the rider actually sees. It just shows the light in the close proximity of the motorcycle and the dash, but nothing out there in the distance, other than the reflection, you know, of white lines and things like that. So rather than do that, I'm going to show you an image in a second which will help you understand what I saw. But let me just summarise the conditions. I left here 5 AM on Saturday morning. It's pitch black out there. I've got about 30 minutes of commuting that I had to do through rainforest and through unlit open roads out in the mountains here. So very good conditions to actually test the capability of the lighting system. Now, the image on the screen is the first of a series of images that I created to help explain what you actually see there. So if you look down the bottom of the image, you'll see there is a bit of a silhouette like a Mickey Mouse head that is meant to represent the silhouette of the motorcycle that you would see as a rider looking down or looking forward on the motorbike as you ride. The lines that converge out from the left and right is meant to indicate the direction of the road that we would be riding. Now, in low beam basically is this big arc which starts about 2 meters in front of the bike. It illuminates from about 2 meters out incredibly well, right? So it's very bright light. The arc moves out very wide, and this is one of the things that really jumped out at me as a benefit of these lights. Very wide illumination, which means as you're riding along, the light's being cast out there where, you know, animals hide. There might be a bull that's escaped from a property, which is I've already experienced here on our rides, or a kangaroo sitting there waiting to jump out. Very well illuminated out on the side there. Then the light projects forward, and it has a fairly distinct line at the top so that it doesn't cause problems for oncoming traffic. Now when you flick to high beam appears as a rectangle that is very close to the top of the arc of low beam. So it's like these two little parts just touch together. and high beam projects out there quite a long way, very intense light. And I know for a fact that if anyone was coming the other way and they neglected to dip their lights, they were blinding me, if I flicked these on, I think they'd be pretty sure they got hit with a pretty bright light. So a lot different than what I've experienced with factory fitted lights on this particular motorcycle. Now, the only complaint I had about these lights is the convergence between high beam and low beam, just where it sits together. That's that top rectangle and that bottom arc. I would like that to overlap a little bit more. So I'm just going to mention that to Matt Gecko as a post-test review suggestion. The upside of these particular lights, there were 4 things that really stood out for me. Number 1, the parking lights are incredibly bright, very distinctive, so you've got a lot more visibility in the daytime. I've had a couple of comments from people who know it was me riding, and the first thing they talked about was the visibility of these lights. So it's those daytime riding lights that circumnavigate or around the circumference of the lights that really make a difference. The second thing is the width of the low beam. That was a standout for me, illuminating the sides of the roads. Third thing, the intensity of high beam. Very impressed with how well it projects out there and the clarity and vision that you actually get with it. And the fourth thing, and this is something that I didn't anticipate would occur, but it did. When we go for a ride down the range, often we hit the range or the top of the range and it's a little bit dark. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but as you go around the windy road, you turn to the right. Well, whether you're on high beam or low beam, it doesn't make any difference. The light doesn't project around the corner very well, so you don't see clearly. And if it's a dark night, it's very difficult to ride on twisty roads because you can't see where you're going around the corner. Well, this particular set of lights with high beam on, oh man, it just illuminates around the corner in a way that I've never seen before. So super impressed with the visibility on windy roads in the dark. You know, I'm not suggesting you go riding on windy roads in the dark, but if you're like me and you've got to commute that way, then it'll make a huge difference. So there you have it. That's my review of these lights. They're available from Matt Gecko LEDs in the United States. I highly recommend them. You know, go out and get yourself a set. I'm pretty sure you're going to be happy with them.